What? I'm not even British. I'm an immigrant. Hi everyone, my name is Danelle Taylor Gabriel and I am the author of Naya Moon Travels the World. In the last couple of weeks or so, I've had a lot of people contact me and ask me to give them advice on self-publishing and what route I went down, and if I made any mistakes, what were the mistakes and what pitfalls to avoid. I am in no way a professional, or maybe I am. But I'm here to give you some advice and basically tell you what to avoid. I wouldn't want anyone to go through some of the things that I went through because it was just really unnecessary. At the beginning of my journey, I contacted a lot of um, self published authors, and some never got back to me at all. And those who did just gave me very unhelpful advice like, keep trying. And yeah, it's very difficult. You just have to keep researching, and it just wasn't very helpful at all. And I get it, some people just don't want to kind of like share the inside secrets, but the way that I see it, this is very important. I think we, especially as Black people, I'm talking here specifically, we need to have as much of our work as possible outdoors, so our children can see and they can be inspired. So I'm here to give you that advice, guys. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, although I don't think it will be too quick, because if I want to be thorough, I think it might take a little while, but bear with me. Okay, so I've got my notes here. Motivation for writing. So I was an avid reader as a child. I read religiously. I used to devour books. I used to read like 6 chapter books a week, average. And I always wanted to be an author. I always thought I would have been an author of a novel. Never in a million years did I think I was going to be a children's book author. But here we are. So my goddaughter was born, and I made a concerted effort to buy her books. And I tried to make sure that a lot of the characters reflected her. And so I went about searching for books with Black characters. And I found some, but then I wanted to contribute to that. I wanted to create a story about a little girl living her best life. So that was my push to starting writing that book. That was the conscious reason. I didn't want 20 odd years later to pass by and then have my goddaughter still go through what I went through. Although I loved reading books, I rarely saw characters that looked like me, and I didn't want my goddaughter to go through that, so I decided to write that book. Subconsciously, which I didn't know about until my mother told me, was when I was a little girl, when I was like 3, 4 years old, I used to always tell my mom that I dream about traveling the world, and that when I get older, I'm going to do that. And my mom thought, oh, this crazy girl. And that doesn't sound wild, I suppose, to some people, but I grew up, I was born in St. Lucia. It is a small island in the Caribbean. And I was born in a fishing village called Anslore, and predominantly huge percentage of the village didn't have running water in their house or electricity, my house being one of those. So to have a young girl having that kind of dreams was just like, for my mom, she just thought it was wild. So I just wanted to kind of like forward that notion that how important it is for kids to use their imagination to their fullest potential, and how important it is and educational it is when a child use their imagination. And I hope that translates in this book here. So that was one of the reason. So how long did it take to write the book? So because I'm a writer, I'm a poet. Writing the story was easy. That was I think that was possibly, I'm not gonna say really easy, because I don't want to put that out there because it's not. But I think out that whole process, writing the story was kind of like straightforward and easy for me because of my writing background. Um, So I wrote the story and it just sat there, and I had this idea that I wanted to write the book. And then it took me a while to actually have this book in my hand. My friends and my family was like, Danelle, you've got this story, just go on and get it published. I never approached a publishing house or a literary agent. I had this thought in my mind that they wouldn't want to publish my work. I wouldn't advise you guys to do that. I think right now, especially more than ever, that it's very important that Black voices are writing, are putting their work on paper and getting it published. So if you can go to a publishing house, I suggest you go and you do that. Try that. I didn't try it because I had this thought that they didn't want to see it. And I don't think that thought was unfair, because I think I read a statistic that 1.98 books were written by Black, or no, British people of color, right? And I was just like, what? I'm not even British. I'm an immigrant. So if it's 1.98 for British people of color, what's the percentage for immigrants? So I just thought, yeah, I'm just gonna do this myself. And so I did. And so I wrote it. It sat there for a very long time. I think it sat there for years. And then eventually I just took that step. I set up a GoFundMe account because self-publishing can be quite pricey. And I set up a GoFundMe account, and it was my friends and family who donated to my fundraising account. I think everyone that donated, I knew them personally. And I was able to make, like, I think just over $1,000 in fundraising to go ahead and publish my stuff. First thing I did was contact an illustrator. So I went on Fiverr. So Fiverr is a platform. So Fiverr, Fiverr. I'll put the link down below. It's a platform where you can find anyone to do anything for you at a reasonable price. And I know that sounds freaky, but if you don't know about Fiverr, get to know. So I found my illustrator on Fiverr. I knew I wanted an illustrator that was either Black, mixed race, or maybe a person of color, because I thought that they would know what I was looking for when I was describing my character to them. So I settled for Jasmine Mills, and I can't even say settle because she was completely amazing. At the time I didn't know how to draw, and I said to her, I want this little Black girl to have these bubbles in her hair and to have these twists. I sent her pictures, reference pictures, and she just drew exactly what I wanted. I was so impressed. And she just got what I wanted, basically, you know? This cute little Black girl, and I just wanted people to just fall in love with her like how I fell in love with her, and she was able to do that. I think it cost me overall, I think about between £400 and £500. I think that's the price mark that I spent on an illustrator. She was really, really, really good. I changed my mind quite often, and I contacted her quite often because I wanted to add more things to it. And yeah, she was great. I mean, I knew that when I wrote the book, it didn't rhyme initially, and it was written in prose. And then I thought, no, children like rhyming books, so let's make it rhyme. So then it went in verse, and it rhymed, and then it didn't, and it rhymed, and it didn't. And eventually I settled for a rhyming book. But what I also knew that I wanted was that because her drawings were so eye-catching, you know, kids just like bold and colorful things. I did not want the words to kind of like be over the pictures. I just wanted them to stand on. I wanted the words were so good, I wanted it to stand on its own. The illustrations were so good, I wanted that to stand on its own. So I said to her, if she could create textures that resembled each illustration, so I could put it next to each other and have the words on top. Let me show you what I mean. So for example, this is Ayat Naya in Egypt. So you've got the pyramids here, and on this page you can see that there's sand at the bottom and there's just this desert texture in the background. So that's what I asked her to do, and she did it. She's just, thank you, Jasmine, you're amazing. So yeah, that cost me like between £400 and £500. So guys, go on Illustrator and find someone. So to format the book, so after I got the illustrations, I needed to format the book. So I searched high and low for um places and someone to format my book. Again, you can go on Fiverr to find somebody to format your book. I decided not to go down that route because I wanted to learn on the job. I wanted to know how to format books. I mean, I also wanted to know how to draw, which is, and I'm still in the process of learning how to draw. But I wanted to know, I wanted to be able to format my book myself because I knew I was going to change my mind a lot. Just like I changed my mind when it came to writing the book, just like I changed my mind when it came to the illustrations. So I knew that I was going to change my mind quite often, that, and I didn't have money. I didn't have money to keep paying someone for revisions. So I thought, to now, you're going to have to know how to format your book yourself. So first I went on a site called Blurb. Blurb is a printing site, and they also do distribution, and they are able to print photo books and trade books. Now trade books are like what you would call like novels. That's what you would call a trade book, and photo books would be for like children's stories, right? So I went on Blurb, and I was so excited to get my work in a book form that I sent off for a prototype, and this was the prototype. And it was so amazing. The quality of the book was really good, and I was really big on quality of the book. And Blurb is so excellent because they also have a publishing software on their site called Bookwrite. So you won't have to do all that hard work to format your book, which you would have to do if you use Photoshop, which is what I used. And it was really good. I thought that it was quite easy. It was friendly. So if you want to kind of like not deal with the with all that technical stuff when it comes to formatting your book if you're using Photoshop, then I suggest you go on Blurb. I will put the link in down below as well, and you can do it that way. So the thing with Blurb as well is that it can be quite pricey, but their quality is excellent. So when you're thinking about formatting your book, you have to think about this, what size book you want, and what quality paper you want, and what finish you want on your book. So those are very important, and those can positively or negatively affect the finishing price of your book. So you really have to think about that when you go on Blurb. They will give you an option of how of what you would want your book, whether you want a paperback or a hardback, whether you want it 25 by 25. There are just different things that you would have to consider once you start printing your book. Also have to think about what GSM you want your paper to be, and that's basically the weight of the paper. You definitely want the covers of your book to be a high GSM. So you definitely want this to be as thick as possible. You also want the inside pages to be a good weight, but also you do not want it to be too thick. Otherwise your book will just fall apart if it's too heavy. So these are all the things that you may have to consider, and that, as I said, can positively or negatively affect the price of your book. Then there's also the matte or the gloss cover. So do you want your page to shine, or do you want it to just be like, so my book, I've got a gloss. As you can see, there's a reflection there's a glare on the book. If I can find it, nice. Yeah. I just thought that looks nice, so I decided to put a little gloss on there. So yeah, so you might want to consider Blurb, and Blurb also distributes as well, so you can sell your book on Blurb. So you might want to consider that. I did not print with Blurb because they are quite pricey. They have way more options to choose from compared to the printing company that I eventually chose. So that's what makes them great, but they are quite pricey. I did not have the funds for it, and although I wanted my book to look as good quality as possible, I also wanted to be able to afford it. So I eventually settled for UK Book Printing UK, and they were excellent. They were very patient with me because, again, I changed my mind very often, and they were very patient with me, and eventually I settled with them, and my book cost me £764.41 for 200 books. This was the end product, and as I said, they were very patient with me because I changed the name of the book quite often. Not quite often, I changed the name of the book, and So I had to go back and say, no, I'm going to change the name of the book. And then I found a mistake in the book, and I was like, oh no, there's a mistake in the book, so I've got to change that. They were very patient with me. I think I paid them in October, and I didn't get the book in my hands until April. And that was my fault. It was because I kept making so many changes and I wasn't ready to print yet. And the fact that I changed my mind quite often and they didn't charge me for that was just thank you. I think the only thing they would charge for after is when you want proof copies. When you want proof copies, to send out proof copies, you need to pay for it. And I think it wasn't that very expensive. Um, but try book printing UK. So that's that. So yeah, I settled for Photoshop to format my book because, as I said, I wanted to learn on the job. The thing with Photoshop is that it is very difficult, and if you don't know how to use Photoshop, then you're pretty much like I didn't know how to use Photoshop. My cousin did, and he wanted to help me, but he's a very busy guy, so I learned from him. So while he was doing it, I sat and I watched him maneuver Photoshop, and I took some tips. And then when I was stuck while I was doing my own stuff, I called him. It is very difficult because you have to figure out the margins on on um on Photoshop, and different sites require different margins. It's just thinking about it is just making my head hurt because it was a lot. Oh, it was a lot. Yeah, so I learned how to use Photoshop. So that might be something that you might consider. If not, then yeah, go and Fiverr, make somebody do that for you. And bearing in mind, all this is for like children's book, right? Children's books. It is more expensive to print a children's book because you're using color. So if you've got a normal trade book like a novel, the prices it's going to be nothing compared to the prices that you would pay for a children's book. So keep that in mind. So the best platforms, moving on to the best platforms. So I uploaded my book on Amazon and Ingram Sparks. Now Ingram Sparks does kind of like work with Amazon as well. So because Amazon just owns everything anyway. But yeah, I uploaded my book on those sites, and what they do is they will distribute your books out to other online bookstores like Waterstones, Foyles, WH Smith, Gardner's, Barnes and Nobles, and they take a fee. They take a 60% fee. So you have to think about how you're going to price your book, right? You have to think how much you paid for your illustrator, how much you paid for printing, all the labor that went into your work, and then you have to decide how you're going to price your book. That's a decision that you're going to have to make. I did a focus group and I asked people how much are they willing to pay for the book, and they said different prices, and I just settled on an average price. So that's something that you should consider. And because these sites take a 60% fee, you have to think, do I really want to make money from this, or is it that you just want your book out there? Because if you just want your book out there, then your price can be as low as it can be, right? But if you do want to make some money because you use quite a bit of money to produce this book, then you might want to do it at a certain price. But also bear in mind that some people don't like buying books for a lot of money. And which is such a shame, because I feel like you should pay for books, right? And it doesn't really matter. Books generally aren't expensive. I don't think books are expensive, unless the quality is not that great, right? That's what I think about. I think about, is it a good quality? If it's a good quality book, then I'm willing to pay for it. But there are people who don't think that books should be a certain amount of price. So just keep that in mind. Copyright. So in the UK, there are no like copyright registration, so to speak. When you write your book, your work is automatically copyright protected. I know that isn't helpful, but that's what it is. And if you want more information, you can go on the Gov site. I will put that link down below for you to look at. But bear in mind, once you do publish your book, make sure you print your book, make sure you have the copyright symbol in your book along with the year. Marketing. So marketing was very difficult for me. I'm not going to lie. It's I find social media quite contrived, but social media is important and instrumental in getting your book out there, right? So you have to all the socials that you can think of, create one for your book, right? And make sure you are consistent. I am guilty of not being consistent on my social media. Make sure you are consistent, build a following, and you will see that sales will come through your social media. And also things like Facebook and Instagram, you can do adverts, which again, it's quite expensive, but you can put adverts on there, and then your stuff will be far reaching. What I did is I printed some flyers, so when I go to trade shows, I can give this. I also put this in the book when I post books. And I've also got complimentary slips to put in the book, because as I said, Amazon takes 60% of every sale of book, and I wanted to make more money with my book. So I had 200 books printed, and I sell books myself, whether I go to like trade shows or someone ordering via my website and whatnot. So yeah, so I usually put these in the middle of the book so people can have more information on where to find us and to leave reviews, because reviews are very important. So always be clear and always tell customers, please leave a review, please leave a review, because leaving a review kind of like gets your book out there more. So that's very important. I also created a media kit. Now, a media kit is very important if you want to, for example, contact newspapers or magazines, and if you want them to put your work out in their publication, you send them a media kit. And in the media kit is all the information that you've got about your book, yourself, page count, publication date, ISBN numbers, age, interest age, and reading age, all that sort of things you will need in your media kit. So when someone asks you, oh, I need some more information about your book, you've got that there, and you could just send it, said, oh, here you go, this is all the information. Also add pictures in that media kit as well, so if they want to use any pictures, they've got that in there. I also use my media kit to send out to bookstores. If I want my book in a specific store, then I send in my media kit. It's very important that you approach your local bookstores about having your book sold in their stores. You might not get any feedback from them, they might not reply back to you, but still try, because some will reply back to you. I will put down also in the box below some bookstores, local bookstores that you could consider sending your work to. What else? Yes, so I sell books myself too. So that means I have a website. So I started off with a Wix website, and it proved to be quite expensive because it was an e-commerce website. But I found a way around it. I can pay for a regular website and still have all my information on there. But because I've got a SumUp card reader, right, which I advise everyone to buy, especially when you're trading and doing markets. There are some people who don't have cash on them, especially in this day and age now. Not a lot of people are walking around with money. They walk around with their card. You don't want to lose out on sales, so you've got a card reader. Now, SumUp also has an app, and on the app, they've got an option for you to open up a store, and you can just use that link and embed it on your website, and that person could just go through SumUp, and it is fine. It's cool. This cost me £15. I will put the link down below, and the transactions fee is 1.69, and that is nothing compared to the 60% that Amazon takes from you. So definitely go with this, right? So postage and packaging. Do not use this kind of envelopes when you're posting your books. I know it might be cheaper, but you're doing your customers a disservice, because postmen and postwomen sometimes don't take no care with envelopes like this. I ordered a book last week, and it was folded like this in my letterbox. The book was folded. Like I was upset. So don't use those. Either use envelopes that has the bubble wrap inside of them, or kind of like the jiffy bags, or with the cardboard in the envelope, or you can buy this. And this was cost effective, and this was from Little Packaging. I will put the link in the down below. It was 250 envelopes for £50. I think that works out to like what, £20, 20p, sorry, 20p per envelope, if my math is correct. I'm not very good at math, guys, so you can make that calculation. But either way, I know it is cost effective. So when you're selling books, remember to have a postage and packaging fee. My postage and packaging fee is £2.99, and to post this in second class for one book in this second class signed for is £2.71. So I'm still within the range, right? Because if this is 20p, I'm still kind of like in range. So you might want to consider that. What else? Yes, ISBN numbers, which is this little guy over here. It is not a legal requirement for you to have an ISBN number on your book, but you should have an ISBN number on your book. It is very important. Do not have an ISBN number on your book. This allows your books to be searched. This number is very important. So I got my ISBN number on the Independent Publishing Network, and why I did that is because my book goes onto the Nielsen's book database, and my book, and you're also supposed to send your book to the British Library within a month of publication, and you might also have some libraries contact you asking you to send them 5 books. It is a legal requirement. You have to do that. And yes, what time is it? Oh, 26 minutes. I think that's it, guys. I'm going to be doing another video. I'm going to be interviewing some other people who have self-published their books, and to get some more feedback from them. So if that's something that you want to see, then please put a thumbs up and write comments, subscribe to my channel, and all the details that I have, I am going to put down in the thing below. Oh no, and one more, someone asked me if I had any negative feedback. Yes, you're always going to have negative feedback. That's just the nature of the game. You've just got to keep at it. It's very important that you guys have your books out there. Please do not make negative comments deter you. I had someone say to me that my book is too expensive and people might not buy it. Turns out that my book ended up being number 4 on the Amazon bestsellers list for multicultural stories for children, and number 6 on adventure travel. So don't listen to people. Like, if you think your work is good, and if you've got your supporters around you telling you how good your work is, don't make those negative comments make you get you down. Please put your work out there. It is needed, and I wish you guys all the best and all the luck with this. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll have more information on how to self-publish your book. And please, can you guys purchase my book, Naomi Travels the World? You can find her on Amazon, or you can get it from me. Let me know. Bye.